everywhere. You're seeing them talking about.
All right, Shalom. I'm going to start off by giving all praises, honor, and glory to our power, Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rahakwadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth, as well as peace and blessings, salutations to you hopeful elect that have been scattered on the four corners of the earth, coming back into this truth and knowledge, worshiping Yahweh Ba'Shem Yahweh Shai in truth and in sincerity. And, I was just watching this clip that went viral from this, I don't want to say politician, but she's a media personality by the name of Candace Owens, going into the root of the, debauchery that we see, in the media, on television, and the internet. With these music executives who hire, these low-level, Negroes, all right, going, just specifically to the Southern Kingdom. I mean, the Northern Kingdom, we can go on about that as well. But the women of the Northern Kingdom, are not gone as far as the Southern Kingdom. I will say that. You do get, a J-Lo, here and there. You do get an overly sexualized, Latina that goes viral, but not to the level of what the so-called Negro woman pushes. She made some, some key points, just going into how, dating back, she used the year 2011 when she was on the scene, more than likely being a thought, how you didn't have Trina at the Grammys performing, winning Grammys. And she was, comparing Trina to Cardi B, because you see, Cardi B performing WAP, in front of many fans, and really destroying the nation, of these women, these little girls who look up to these celebrities and want to be just like them. There's a big push from the industry, to dumb down these women in society, to make them be ratchet, wild, bugged out women. A lot of these women have not been raised with a father, and they're, their whole logic to life is to get a bag and shake their ass. All you see is these women twerking 24/7, like it's a sport. And they've given up, the idea of being a wife. And these women sleep around with any man they see that has status or to them is sexually appealing, which the scriptures are against that. The scriptures speak about how a woman should marry one man, and deal with one man. But today, the law, statutes, and commandments are ignored, right, by our people, And this is why we always speak about how the woman, the Negro, Hispanic, and Native American woman, right, is going to be the majority of the 2/3 that is going to be cut off here in Babylon, because a lot of them are wicked, adulterous women, spiritually fornicators. A lot of them are deep off into spirituality, the spirituality that's not pertaining to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, which we know that that's not spirituality. They're bugged out. They're dealing with horoscopes, stones, witchcraft, and all type of low level, things that the Lord is against. And these music executives, these small hats, and even as she brought up, a Negro is pushing this agenda on our people. There's actually millions of dollars poured into these artists. They give these artists a chain, a car, a home in return for them to, bug out, while they put them on stage, movies, videos, awards, all right, and give them the spotlight. And there's no cry, from these women about this behavior. This is why I'm surprised that you have Candace Owen openly coming out condemning this behavior. You think back to Judith, right? There was a point in which, the nations would admire the beauty of the Negro woman, Hispanic woman, and Native American woman, to the point of them asking how could anyone be against these people, but now it's plain, that these women are the laughing stock of America. These other nations, you don't really see this. If you do, a lot of the times they're, of the scattered. They're in that same spirit, because the spirit bear witness. So you'll see, these different nations involved in these things, but not pushing their women, to that extent. You think of the so-called Arab nations, their women are discreet. They have, their problems, and we all do. Every nation does, but not to the extremities of the Southern Kingdom women. These women deal with, a law, that will put them in jail for some of the things that these Negro women do on a regular. So I'm gonna play a little bit of the clip, and I'm gonna get some scriptures, and Lord willing, this lesson be edifying.
Everywhere you're seeing them talking about her. Does that feel artificial to you at all? So I was interested. I was like, who signed her? Because if you're a person and you're walking around and you can sign anybody and you got the money to sign them, you're gonna tell me that's what stood out? Or is that intentional?
It's intentional, of course.
Of course it's intentional.
Of course it is.
And that's what I'm trying to make Black America.
We know that it's intentional. The scriptures speak about how by design, these nations have one goal, and that's to, cut us off from being a nation. They actually set up stumbling blocks so that the excellency of Jacob, all right, is no longer. They make a tumult, is what the scriptures say. They go above and beyond, spending their money, all right, and they getting the money back, because you Negroes love this shit. Twerking on cars. It's how you had this woman was just unalived, twerking on a car and was hit by a fire truck. This thing twinkles down to the average woman. These women partake in prostitution. And you see that especially over here in LA a lot. These women on the block, walking down the block, with their ass out, revealing themselves to men. And that whole culture, and it ultimately stems from Esau, Edom. He's the root to this debauchery, and sexualism, causing our people to err. And this is why I was watching a video of Elder Tahar recently that he made, and he was going into the statistics of these women, and their sexually transmitted diseases, why you have the Negro woman in the elite of that group, leading, because they're going about, these cities spreading their legs, man. Okay.
Aware of, right? That is intentional. Somebody's making that decision. That means somebody turned down a Chris Brown, okay? Turned down a Michael Jackson, turned down a Lauryn Hill, and said, that's the one I want to sign and make her bigger. And when I looked into it, who did that, boy, was I shocked to learn that it was a combo team. But one of the men was a black man who certainly doesn't listen to Sexy Red. He's married to Stephanie Shepard.
It's a reason why the scriptures speak about, all right, the people of our tribe being of the devil, your father, the devil, because you have some wicked ass Jakes, man. And this is just set up by Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. He doesn't want everyone to receive the salvation on the first go around. This is why he made it clear that these sexual deviant demons are not going to make it the first go around, and that the kingdom, all right, it's not going to be inherited by a bunch of adulterous, wicked niggas and women. I'm gonna be straight up. A lot of you are going to get massacred. A lot of you are going to get destroyed by the missiles. All right, you actually gasoline to the fire of Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai. You're going to get smoked. Right, and a lot of you men that deal with these women are laden with all type of worries, and because these men are simps for these type of women. You worried, you sleepless, you bugged out behind these pissy tail ass women. But what I got from the lesson of Elder Tahar was, it's okay to deal with these other women, man. These women, especially what's going on right now in LA County, you have an act of spreading disease, hepatitis. I believe it's hepatitis A is spreading like clockwork. All right, devouring the liver. All right, these flesh-eating diseases that are devouring Jake, man. There's many judgments that come in the midst of these women. Scripture says that all wickedness is little, but to the wickedness of a woman. All right, and through her we all die. This is not something that you take light to. A lot of you men, you see these women, they smelling sweet when they walk by you with these perfumes and looking innocent, but deep down they're devils, man. And this is not pertaining to all you Negroes, all right? But you have a major problem that needs to be discussed, man. That's why these discussions, I'm front row to hear, these different discussions when it comes to this. This is things and thoughts of the elect anyway. Another reason why we want salvation is to get our women back in order. All right? Because our women are out of order, out of twack. It's ridiculous. All right? So with that, I want to give all praises to Yahweh Ba'ashem Yahushai, Ba'ashem Kakodash.